Chelsea, really good to meet you.
Good to meet you too.
Yeah.
Thanks for sitting down with me today.
You bet. So I understand you've been involved in medical arts, is that right?
Yes, sir, I have. I'm part of the medical arts program. And we do lots of amazing events, whether seeing musical performances. Most recently saw the Berlin Philharmonic.
How was that experience?
It was incredible.
Yeah.
It was perhaps the best symphony orchestra I've ever heard in my entire life.
Why do you think that was one of the things selected for medical arts?
One thing that we talk a lot about in medicine is being good listeners, and especially when you're listening to patients who may not seem to make sense to you at the start. What was really great about that programming, the first half before intermission, was Schoenberg and a couple other selected artists that were very unconventional. And when you listen, you're not going to be listening the same way that you would be listening to Brahms, for example, which was the second half of the concert.
Right.
Learning how to approach listening and sort of accepting experiences for what they are instead of trying to necessarily put meaning directly on them. It's just a fantastic exercise, I think, for anyone, but especially those who are in medicine and working with patients who, tell their stories in different ways, and you still have to get information from them and learn from them, but you may approach how you listen to them differently.
Well, my organization, UMS, has been a co-sponsor. I mean, we were so impressed with what Joel Howell and Sanjay Saint and Jim Stanley were developing, where they had this hypothesis that if medical students could be more than exposed, but have a fairly deep engagement with the visual arts, the literary arts, and the musical arts, somehow they'd be better docs.
And I definitely believe it's true. I mean, it's not only like listening for the musical performances, but when we are exposed to visual arts, or even we have some hands-on workshops that we sometimes do for dance or for art, it pushes you in another way that you may not be pushed or encouraged to pursue when you're on the wards or just studying your first 2 years and you have your nose constantly in the books.
Well, we've been thrilled that we're part of it. In fact, this past year there were 49 courses at the university that I would call arts infused that may not have been that same way 5-6 years ago. But we've had a faculty institute where faculty around the university in a variety of departments have come to understand how arts, engagement with the arts, can really enhance what you're trying to teach. It's been one of the most meaningful connections for me is just going beyond just being entertainment and putting on shows to having this much deeper meaning as we've had with the medical school and even engineering and the sciences. It's been one of the joys of my job is engaging with the university, but then of course engaging with the community. In this area of Southeast Michigan, there's such rich communities of shared heritage, each with a diversity of cultural expressions. And it took us a while to get out of the tower. We're located in Burton Memorial Tower, and to get out of the tower and into these communities of Southeast Michigan.
I mean, I think in some ways, as a medical student going into the art world or experiencing the art world has been really helpful for me for like how I see things or how I hear things, how I do things. And but one thing about art is that there's frequently an illness narrative sort of running through a lot of written pieces and even musical pieces and art pieces. And I just wonder if musicians or artists, if they spent time in the medical world, they would learn a little bit more about that illness narrative and about sort of not only the perspective of the patient, which I feel is most often written about or is the matter, the subject matter of art pieces. Sort of understand a little bit more about the illness narrative from a lot of different perspectives.
Well, I know that my wife teaches at Eastern Michigan University in the music program, and there are a number of students there that are studying music therapy.
Yes.
And my sense is that music can have a huge impact on the way patients are able to connect. I have a friend, he's passed now, but he had Alzheimer's. But he was a great singer. When he was healthy, he was one of the leaders of a men's a cappella group called the Grunions. And the Grunions would come to visit him at the home where he was. And he was able to come up on the stage and sing every single song that they had. So there was something about music, where it fits in the brain, and that was a joyful time for him in what is, in the rest of his life, a very dark time. So what we need to study that, what is it about music and the brain and the soul that enables someone to snap out of this deep, dark area of Alzheimer's and come back to life.
My grandmother actually has Alzheimer's, and she's part of this program that meets once a week for a couple hours, and they sing old hymns, and she remembers every single word of them. And they do art projects, and my mom has accompanied her a few times for these couple-hour workshops. And my mom even comments that my grandmother is more alive by singing these old songs that who knew that they were still back in her mind, right? And just engaging in artwork just makes her more relaxed and just less agitated overall.
Well, I think it just shows how much we can learn from each other if we open our minds and ask questions. So I think that's really, I think, at the heart of my career. That's what I've sought to do, is be open to what happens, how life takes one down certain paths, and then ask questions, be alive in that moment, see where it takes you. And one thing that really helped a few years ago when we were thinking about, what is the business that we're in the performing arts? We're in the experience business,
Very true.
And that's kind of what you're in too. You're dealing with people's, experiences and seeking to improve them. That was really a revelation. It was sort of the big aha. We're not in the entertainment business. We're in the experience business.
Yeah, I like that spin.
Well, thanks so much for your time.
Yeah, thank you. It's been a pleasure.
Yeah,
I've learned so much.